I'm Joey Hubbard. For those of you who I don't know, have we met before?
No.
What's your name?
I've heard of you many times.
He's infamous.
Oh, great. I don't know if it's a good news or bad news thing that you've heard of.
It's always been good.
Oh, okay.
And I'm Marianne Somerville.
And we're partners in crime here in
Yeah.
this master's class piece.
So when we thought about this evening, we thought we would like to do it as a conversation. And there are, if you're here for the master's class intro, come on in. Just you're not here for that? Okay.
It's Nicole.
Oh, it's Nicole. I'm sorry, Nicole. I don't have my glasses on.
It's all good. I was just
Forgive
checking on
me.
you
The
guys.
fact that I can see you is a big thing.
Okay. So, and we wanted to do it as a conversation to kind of get you any information that you need, but also to share a little bit about our experience, because we created this just about a year and a half ago, I think, and now we've done 3 programs, and we did them with 3 very different types of groups. So from my perspective as a designer, that was the best experiment that could have happened, because to have 3 different types of clientele gives us real data on whether or not the program is successful. And I'm not making this up, and I'm very proud to say it. The feedback consistently has been that this is an off-the-charts program, the best work that Insight has done. And I just think that's amazing. So the master's class intention has several elements that I'm going to do very briefly, and then Joey can say a few things, and then we'll just open it up. Joey and I simultaneously had an idea and a vision. The interesting thing about that is one of the tenets of the master's class, and it has always been a tenet of Insight. That when we really open our hearts, we connect beyond the individual to the place where we all are humans, but also in that human connection, there's an intuitive link that can provide information that seems amazing. Currently, it's amazing. I was just on a call today. People at Harvard, MIT, Stanford, the neuroscientists are all exploring this now. But we've been teaching it for 35 years or 40 years. So it's very familiar to us to have people open their hearts and suddenly, I know that I know something about you. I know that. I just know that. And what it provides is a grace and ease in life. So we had that experience. And then I was kind of assigned to scribe this thing. And it was in honor of our founder, John Roger, who is, in my heart, the most beloved teacher and the most amazing source of wisdom that I've ever encountered. And our intention was to take the technology of Insight, which is actually very profound. It's ancient teaching in a current form. One of the marks that it's profound is that basically we're doing the same content for 40 years and people are still going, I can't believe this. This was such an amazing experience. And the way I look at that, it's because the information is true. It's part of the human wisdom, the collective knowledge on the planet. And we lucked out with the guidance of John Roger to find a technology that helped people actually apply it and embody it. So we thought we'd take the master's class and take all of that beautiful, beautiful, wise information and techniques and build it to a place where each person would be challenged to move it into their own mastery. That own mastery being internal or external. In other words, I want to master something that I've been fighting internally all my life. Or I want to finally achieve this thing that I've said I wanted to do for so long and I've never done it, or both. In what we call a field of loving. Now the field of loving is the connection of our hearts. And that has also now been proven through neurocardiology, that there is an energetic field of the heart that is different than the wave of the brain, and that when we start moving on that field of loving, we can support each other invisibly in ways that are actually tangible and proven. So it's pretty exciting. The other basic tenet of the master's class was the idea that comes through the tradition of the arts. So the cellists, the actors, the singers, the people who the writers have a tradition which is called the master's class. which means that I'm already a student and I'm already practiced and I already have skills. You recognize this, Michael. I already have skills. But now I want to take it to the next level, because that next level will allow me to really, really do the work that I love. So that was the idea of the title of the master's class, knowing that all of the people that we would be working with have already done a substantial practice, much more than most people on the planet would ever experience. But how do we then, precisely and uniquely for each individual, help them or facilitate the process such that they can move themselves into their next level of mastery? The only other thing I want to say about it is that our definition of mastery is that it is not static. It's not a place that you reach. It's a continuum. So Joey and I have facilitated 3 of them now, and this year when I facilitate, I'll be looking to move to the next level of mastery of my own issues and my own goals and dreams. That was a lot.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. The couple things that show up for me to add to that is, one, when we were looking at the design many, many years ago, I was a teenager, John Roger sat my brothers and I down and talked about what happens when you collectively work on something together. And from the space of where, if there were 3 of us, there were 3 of us. 2 of us focused more on that third person's goals. That third person focused more on our goals. So in other words, we were pretty neutral about our own personal goals. We put our energy more into each other's goals being achieved. And that process he called mastermind groups, and if any of you've read Think and Grow Rich or any of those books around that process, has this extreme, is a unique power to creating and achieving what you want in that dynamic. What I think happened in the master's class that we organically came to was an even more powerful version of that, which is that you have 40 people focusing on you achieving your goal, while you sort of let that goal go and just do the work required while holding the internal consciousness necessary for the external result or the internal result to show up. That process is extremely powerful. And until we actually started seeing it occur, we didn't expect it to be at the level that it showed up to be. And so there's ripple effects still occurring in all the participants who've taken class up until now. We still get emails from Boston, which was a year and a half ago, talking about the incredible changes that are still occurring or the results that are still occurring in their lives. So when she said it's not static, it really isn't. It's a process that we see continuing for the rest of our lives. I found that piece to really be really dynamic. The other piece that is important for us is the transformation of the internal consciousness that has gotten in the way up until now of you having what you want. And so, for most masters that have been on this planet from day one, it's never been about their behavior being, significantly different than mistakes they made not being, unique or different. It was more of the consciousness they carried to move past whatever mistakes they made or whatever didn't work quickly. And so we start looking at what it is that catches you. What gets in your way? What's that thing that has been with you for most people since birth that's gotten in the way of you really moving into the consciousness that you want to carry? And I find that piece can be profound for people, where they see what it is, they track it. It's simple, it's not complicated, but it can be extremely profound to actually go after that one thing and begin to shift that piece and what happens when that occurs. Those are the 2 pieces that I think, for me, were surprising in terms of how the results showed up. When we were, Marianne did a significant amount of work in terms of putting this together, but we come together and we talk about it, and there was never a, no, I think it should be this, or no, I think it should be that. It was almost like it was being designed beyond us. How many of you have that experience where you're moving towards something, or you're creating something that seems to be being designed beyond you? This course for me is a result of the 40 years of work that have gone into this insight seminar, but I would say brought forward into the year 2016. So we've amplified the knowledge that has kind of been disseminated through that time into one course. And I think that's why the course is having the impact that it's having. So that's the, I think.
Just a couple other little things. Some of you know me, some of you don't, but I'm a consistent and constant student. I always want to know if there's something out there that can help myself or another client of mine, some fine tweak that I haven't become aware of. And so in the last 6 years, as neuroscience started to prove everything that we've been teaching, and others had been teaching, I decided that one of the things I would want to have for our master's class graduates is that they would be also savvy about the connect to the current scientific knowledge that is proving what insight has always done, so that they could come into the current time and know that what we do not only has been profound in its ancient wisdom, but that now it's being proven true through science. So unlike other insight seminars, every participant receives a binder, and in that binder is the best information that I could find that supports the work of insight from different perspectives. And we felt that was an important part of the process. There's also a set of meditations that are specific to the master's class that can be practiced, and they're established that way. But when Joey said, about the synchronicity or the kind of intuitive link that we were on and that greater inspiration, in the Insight 1, we start with a chart, a very complex chart called the behavioral matrix, but we explain the 3 selves. I don't know if you remember that. But there's a basic self, a conscious self, and a high self, and the high self is in charge of inspiration and intuition. And this course, I was the scribe, this course was given in such a way that we didn't even have to change the time frames in the design. We even had it came in like at 9 o'clock you do this, and at 9:30 you do this, and we've run 3 pilots now, and one of them in Bulgarian, and we had to do very few tweaks in the design. Now, to me, that's part. Your great composers describe it the same way. They sat down at the piano and it was given to them, and it's not that they didn't do the work to get to the place to be receptive to that, but when they were receptive to it, there is a higher connection that we have that's quite profound. So I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's really fun. And I'm going to tell you one quick story, then we'll kind of continue on. So one of the things about Joey and myself facilitating, which is really just a gift for me, is that, as he was mentioning, we seem to have an intuitive connect moment to moment. So it's very rare that we are on a different track, and if we're on a different track, it's to each other, and if we're on a different track, it's harmonious because it's something that's needed as a different perspective, but the message is usually the same. And my very first experience, I had heard about Joey Hubbard and all of this, but my very first experience, and it continues to this day, we were taken out for a facilitator training on this mountain, and there was a relationships exercise that was up on ropes, and you had to get up on the ropes with a partner, and you had to get across these ropes that were kind of jumping and this and that from one side to another and get across to another tree. And Joey and I don't know who chose who, but we ended up being the partners in the first one. And the ropes were like 8 feet off the ground, I guess, so we had spotters and stuff, so. Well, my recollection is, and his is probably somewhat similar, we stood up, on these shaky ropes, and we looked into each other's eyes, and we held hands, and kind of like this, I think, and we walked across the ropes. That's just what we did. And so our experience is like, well, what's this exercise? This is pretty easy. And the instructor looked at us and said, "Who are you two?" And we said, well, Joey Hubbard and Mary Ann. She had never seen that, ever. And then, I didn't believe it because it was so easy, but we watched everybody get thrown off the ropes for the next hour because they couldn't do it. And we didn't do it, we just connected in the heart and walked across the ropes. So that's another foundation element for the class.
My black athletic ability came in.
Yeah, he was holding me up the whole way
No.
too. So we didn't tell you the kind of structure. It's actually 3 4-day seminars and then 3 teleseminars. So it's a very intensive type of workshop, and attendance is required at all the sessions. So it's a full commitment. And one of the reasons we built it in that way was we've learned that support over time creates momentum for change. It's very powerful. So that really seemed to be a component. We've also learned that a kind of daily attentiveness as people were expressing. What did I learn in the master's class? What can I practice? A daily type of practicing of the techniques embodies them in a deeper way. And so that's why we structured it that way.
Any of you who've tracked the science know that there's a behavioral modification that can occur if you do something 32 days in a row. Usually it's a changing of a habit or breaking into sort of free space. What we're finding in the course is the 85 to 90 days or so that you're in the course, people are making pretty significant transformations. So there's power in that process of connecting once a month, 4 days, going away, practicing it, coming back, connecting for another 4 days. In between having those conference calls with your teams or with us, creates a sustainability, which is really important for us. We want the transformation to occur, not just the change that you change back into. So any questions from those of you who are here for the first time and are just trying to figure out whether this is right for you or not?
Questions or comments, anything, it's just so that we can open up the conversation. Yeah, Paula?
Do you have specific questions or issues that you want to work on? Is that what the participant comes in with? Do you have just one? Do you have many?
Yes. Like
Okay.
really, through the 3 courses in 3 different parts of the world, we've seen all of that. We've seen, I've got one I'm really clear about, I've got a few, I've got a lot, and you know, we will encourage you into something, into sort of deciding a direction internally and a direction externally. We've seen people impact multiple areas of their lives, not some they didn't even intend to do when they came into the course. So wherever you are and all that is fine, because all of it works.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because the overriding question, the real question of the class is, what is my next level of mastery? So that can apply anywhere. And we did find that people came into the course thinking that they were going to work on one thing and discovering, oh my God, it's in a totally different area than I ever saw before. But that made sense to me, because when we used to work with John Roger, you know, he would tell us, if you have a problem consistently for a long time, it's probably because you haven't been aware of something. You've just been retracing the same thought patterns and emotional patterns about this problem. So it's usually out of your awareness. It's the same thing as Einstein, the solution's on a different level. So we found people changed their concept of what the class would be quite radically, but then they got what they came for at a level they didn't expect.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I have like 4 or 5 things that I
Well,
think.
you could have
it's-
15, it'd be okay.
Yeah. It would work, yeah.
Yeah.
What we found also is that there is a core
Mhm.
that we address in the course. And the core is an internal transformation piece that tends to impact all the external pieces. So you might have 4 things you want to achieve, but you may find that just shifting that one piece internally starts to make all of that on the external shift. Yeah. Good question, thank you.
Wonderful question, thank you.
Yeah.
It's like from the very moment you register, there's some wonderful pre-material that gets sent to you that starts you thinking, looking, asking, writing about. So to me, the questions come almost immediately. In the process, I think 2 months before I ever took the class, I was already in that process of discovering and refining and going for what I really wanted.
Thank you, Rachel. And you know, I'm going to go back to the higher self, basic self, conscious self, because it's my experience, and we could add spirit to this if that matches your beliefs, but if it doesn't, we can just stay with the kind of dynamics of the human being. And once you place internally in your consciousness that you want that expansion, it starts happening. So that's one of the reasons we do the pre-work. Not so that you answer questions for us, but so that the process begins and you really start integrating, finding the edges you hadn't seen before, etc. Did you have something?
I think you more or less asked my question by the answer, which was, it sounds like it's a major undertaking and you have high expectations. Is there anything we should do ahead of time? You know, is there any work you do to get ready for this before you start? And it sounds like the answer is, well, yes, we have some suggestions to give you.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is another part of mastery. This is what I love about the class. Insight works with awareness, and it's a commitment on Joey's and my part to just reflect whatever we're aware of that we've seen you do. So some people wrote pages and pages and pages, and Rachel was doing ideal scenes and everything else, and she was like so 150% committed. And other people, when they sent me their forms, they had a little 1 bullet point answer, or I'm not sure I know anything about this. You know, it's like half a page max, right? And the whole class, and there wasn't like that was better or worse. But the class is designed so that if either of those are not really working for you, it would be reflected to you. And everything in between. And that to me is why I'm still working with Insight, because I'm always amazed by what happens when people just become aware of what they're doing, and is it working or isn't it, or is there something else they could do. Very simple but very powerful. Yeah. So there's no rules and regulations in the class. So I didn't mention this, but it's one of the intentionalities of the class. From my perspective, we're in a very challenging time on the planet. Sometimes I think, well, maybe the planet's always been this way and we just know more about it because of the day-to-day input. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But I know there are a lot more people, and I know so there's a lot more opportunity. And it's my opinion that the field of loving as a global network of hearts is very much needed. And we're not the only ones that are thinking that. But Insight has always had that as part of its mission. And so one of the other intentions of the master's class is to begin to build this field of loving as not only a common language, but a common experience across the world, and to know how to do it for each other so that we can literally change the energy field that's going on out there. And those of you who like research, there's been a lot of research that prayer, that heart connection, that awareness states really do communicate across space and time, and that they are really trackable, and that we can make a difference. So, you know, our vision for this is that, you know, 10 years from now, we have masters, graduates all over the world who, in an instant, know how to activate that field for whoever or whatever's going on. So, thanks for bringing it up, Carol.
I just wondered if you had some examples of some of the inner and outer goals that people choose, just to get a sense. And then also, like, how are the weekends structured, whatever's appropriate to share about that?
Well, I can answer the second one first. There's nothing appropriate to share about, so that helps you there. It's 4 days. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay.
And it's 9:30 to 9, and we have
You do have
gathering in
lunch,
the morning.
Lunch.
And there's also like, you know, snacks in the morning, you get together for coffee before you start, provided by Insight.
There is food, there's food.
No passports required, right?
No, but,
But it's nice because on the breaks,
Yeah.
it gave us a.
Sure.
Yeah, it's another way
good
to,
hangout thing.
Yeah.
So that's all we can really share with you about the class. So, you know, we address, one major piece we address in the course is something that I've been working on for several years. We call the paradigm. And so we address where you are with your own personal paradigm. And that becomes an inner process. Out of that, people will have a variety of goals based on the recognition of what their personal paradigm might be. And we look at it from the perspective of what's the limiting paradigm that's been operating underneath that I talked to you guys about in the three. And what's the positive paradigm going to move to? So often the inner goals connect in somewhere with that. Not every time, but often that has a major component of the inner goal. The outer goals, we've seen people, you know, one guy created a karate dojo, you know, in the
he
course
had
of
it
the
in
class.
his mind for 12 years, and he did it in the 3 months of the class.
Somebody gave him this,
He got the funding.
boom. We've seen people write books, we've seen people, I mean, there's such a range of, my question would be, what are you interested in? Because that would be, you know, this, again, if you have anything that you're interested in kind of moving into, and you've
This is the place.
been kind of thinking about it but haven't done anything about it, the beautiful thing about this course is you will do it. And you'll have 40 people in your ass making sure you get that thing done. But in the field of loving, no, 40 people in the field of loving.
I was going to say something, you caught it, and it's good.
I said it the way I say it sometimes. But in the field of loving, supporting you in.
Yeah.
So, you know, specifically, you know, one of the other things that for me, and I'm just sharing personally now, I've facilitated all the Insight seminars for over 35 years. So I have to have some understanding of the information, right? But I'm not being facetious. So in going through this class, there were so many moments when I was moved to tears as I saw a new depth of a piece of information I presented over and over again. And the thing that came to my mind when you were speaking was symbols and experiences. Because in Insight we teach that what you're moving towards and what you really want is an experience of something. And we often think, if I just get that thing out there, or do that thing, or correct this thing, then I'll have the experience. So the master's class is really founded on what is the experience you want to have, and then what behaviors are you doing that either support it, don't support it, or keep it restricted, as Rachel was saying, in some way. And so it becomes very organic. And we also advocate some form of daily practice. Any of you who have ever done leadership development or anything like that, it's just known across the world now. You cannot maintain a state of conscious well-being without some form of daily practice. Whatever that is, whatever you need to do consistently to keep it going. Because that's just the human condition. So, you know, people have had long-term fears, they've got money issues, they've got resistance to meditation, they've always wanted to do it, or they only meditate because they don't like to talk to people. We have some people like that. You know, there's every variety under the sun. So that's what I love about it. You would, with the help of the facilitation and your people in the class, identify what are the issues you need to do, and then find out what the experiences that you want to have, and then what behaviors will support it. Is that helpful? Did that answer it? Okay.
And then it's 4 days.
And then Joey really gets
Thursday.
on you and really tears you apart, and then you're all good.
So, yeah, Matt?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's right, that's right. It's going to be a beautiful statement, but that's okay.
Well, it's going to be really beautiful, I'm sure. Sorry about that. I am. So with my own personal growth, like Insight 1, 2, and 3, it's been really good, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of juice out of it, and I've got a lot of growth out of it, but sometimes it feels sporadic, like I am awesome for, you know, a certain period of time, and then I'll get flashes of other awesomeness, like, you know, as I kind of sink into it, I'm like kind of back into my good spiritual groove. I guess, what does it look like in terms of the master's class? I'm hoping to find some cementing where it's like, okay, great. Like I struggle with that consistency, to have a consistent practice. Like if I do anything every day, I am like really kicking ass. Like I'm doing really well, but it's not like I had the same intention of like, hey, I'm naturally growing into this, and it feels forced and a little bit hard to do.
So my first response is it's going to be dependent on you, and that's one of the foundations we have in the master's class, which we love. Joey and I made a commitment to trust people and to take ourselves out of the facilitation role that would catalyze you to do it, but to do everything we know how to do to support you in choosing to do it. And what we found is that when people make those choices the word integration is really here tonight, and I think that's it. I think that's one of the things that happens, to actually really assimilate and embody in yourself those parts of insight that you need to activate, because there's so much that are yours to do. And then you practice that. I see two different things. One is that there is a kind of unconscious integration that takes place that sticks. And the only reason I can say that is because Joey and I are still receiving feedback from Boston, which was our first pilot a year and a half ago, that it's still sticking, that people are still doing the things that work for them. So even if it's as simple as I don't do the same thing I used to do, but I'm doing what works for me, and I know how to find it, that's a huge thing, right? And so there's no magic bullet, but it does seem that when people come into this commitment level that this group holds, that's all I can say, that a shift takes place, and the simplicity of the way Insight is designed and the way we've pulled it out for this course is easy to utilize. We don't teach any more concepts. We've got lots of information if you want to see the research. No. And once you get those things, it's easy to move on. That's anything.
Yeah, I would just add that the place that asks that question is the place we deal with in the class.
That too.
Because the source of the question has doubt in it. And the doubt is manifested through the paradigm that operates inside of you that doesn't believe that you can do something consistently over a long period of time. So that's impacted all kinds of areas in your life. So what we do in class is, instead of trying to fix your ability to do something every day, we go for the belief system that's underneath that is creating that as a result. Once you eliminate that or shift that, then you're free. You can choose anything. Whether you choose it every day, you choose it for a week, then you choose something else for a week, all that becomes okay. So the pressure that can sometimes sit in, wow, I consistently want to be doing this a certain way and I'm not, all of that is the internal process that takes you out of your mastery sometimes. So we address that piece. Then you can move that energy into a new way, new direction.
And we also move beyond feelings as a marker of how we're doing. It's one of the biggest mistakes out there, to think that if I'm feeling good, then I'm doing good. And if I'm feeling bad, I'm not doing good. And one of the core principles of the class is, how can you become aware of where you are? And if you're in an emotional thing, how do you refocus instead of making that a determination of who I am or how I am? And that's one of the biggest things that happens for people. And then when you move into the present, when you know how to shift into the present, the next choice is simply that. It's like, oh, I'm going to take a step to the right, or I'm going to take a step to the left, because it doesn't have all this significance about who I am, and it can be just a joyful experiment. So I think Joey nailed it on telling you about the belief structures, because that's really what we work with. but then we have very practical, powerful tools that help you do it more quickly every day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Question?
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I've set the intention to be in the class.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a professional violinist, and I've mastered the violin. There's always room for improvement, but I've mastered the violin. I play the top levels. But in mastering the violin, it's like the belief system of that's all I can do, and how much time it took to do that, that it took away from other parts of growing in my life. Yeah. And just really want to integrate all that I've learned through Insight and USM and with my music in service to healing myself and others. So I'm very emotional and excited.
Well, I'm just so appreciative of your openness.
It's that's always, not always, but it can be challenging for me.
What's the openness?
The openness to share.
Yeah, again, I love that you're intending to be there, because again, when we listen very carefully, so it's not just the words you're saying, but there's a whole belief structure around what you just said that has heaviness in it that you've carried with you for a long time. So it's produced a result that you may not like. You understand that piece?
You
Like-
called it the gaps in your life that
Exactly.
were taken away because of the violin, just other areas that.
You understand? So part of the belief structure has supported you because it's allowed you to become a master of the violin. The other parts of the belief structure haven't supported you because it's created the gaps. It's created the spaces where you haven't gotten what you wanted because you felt like you had to do violin.
Right.
Right? Understand? So
Yes.
for us, the integration becomes very natural when you understand where you are. You get really clear about where you are, where you sit, what your beliefs are, what's the paradigm that sits in there. All that stuff opens up for you. And then you start to realize, got it, this is what I've been doing to create this result.
Right.
That's good news. So then the question becomes, so now what do I do to move into a different level of mastery in all these areas? Because we would challenge the belief that you could master the violin and not be able to master kids, husband, dog, cat, and that also at the same time.
That's what I've manifested up till now.
Exactly. What we're suggesting is that you can have it all. But the ability to do that has to begin at the place of where you change the belief system. Otherwise,
That's why I'm in.
yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I was so happy that you were sharing is that I had a sense that that was a challenge or took courage to do it. And that is how you move this stuff. The very first step is to be honest with where we are and where we have a place that, we haven't been able to heal it or we haven't been able to fix it. And no matter how much we've achieved, that area is just like a dark spot or we don't know how to do it. And I want you to know everyone in the class will have
We
that,
all have them.
including us.
I got a big dark spot, but that's another.
But we mean that sincerely because when we first did the first pilot, Joe and I took the whole course with the class. So, and when we facilitate now, we do our own work. We don't take the exact course. We do our own work because there's the next level of the place that's hidden from us. It is holding us back. And often it's just as deep, but it doesn't mean we can't facilitate. It doesn't mean you can't play the violin, right? But anyway, you just moved the group
Yeah,
to
it's good.
level, and thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you.
Out of the last class, I lost 27 pounds.
Yep. It's
And-
looking really good.
And pretty soon you won't be able to see me in 3 hours. I realized I'm not taking care of my body. I'm doing all this other stuff, and my body's starting to get, beat up here. So it's constant vigilance. It's not a I got it good done. It's a what's present that I can work on now. So it's a group effort. It's really fun to have a group working with you and stuff.
And I haven't exactly verbalized it, but every person in the class, the assistants and the facilitators, challenge themselves. In the first 2 classes, the assistants took it because they'd never taken it. And so the next class, the assistants will be kind of like Joey and me. But everyone will be challenged, including us, to do that next level of work, because it creates a place that's different than, well, we know and we're teaching you, and the assistants have done it and they're helping you. It's like, no, this is a group, energetic, moving right here, right now, to the next level.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
And having said that, I want to put it out into the universe to accept and receive support.
What does support mean?
To support me in getting from here to there, financially.
Oh, so you need financial support.
I do.
Okay. So just a little feedback, you can be clearer in that communication. It's like
I wasn't going to say it at all.
Because especially in groups of people go, I support you. Money? Oh, I know. So
I'll support you any way I can.
it's really good to just say, I really like this, because then people can start working, the universe can start working with you on that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So I think we've talked about the master's class enough, but we'll be here for a few minutes if you want to ask any personal questions. On my end, very grateful for you showing up.
Me too.
I'd love a full class. So if you're inspired, grab somebody you know that you care about and pull them in with you. It's fun to do this together.
And this we didn't mention, but it's one of my intentions for the class, because it makes it so fun. If you have people in other states across, the United States or in Europe, or if the South American people want to come, our first class was completely international. We had people flying in from Europe, we had people from Mexico, we had people coming from LA to Boston, and it was just, it just added another level to the group. So please don't think LA specific. We have a team that will accommodate them, help them feel comfortable. It adds so much to the class. We had someone fly into Bulgaria for one of the weeks last time.
From Boston,
Yeah, and
from,
Bulgaria's a
London.
10-hour flight. So if you have somebody out there that you'd like to come have do with you, talk to them about it and know that they'll be welcomed. Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we love you here. Yeah.